Today's session is about operators and these things. Let me open my notepad. So who exactly is an operator? Any person who has access to PRPC, we call them as an operator. Okay, means anyone who can log in into Pega applications and work on them, we call them as operators in Pega. So let's say, for example, Gmail, you have access to Gmail. So I call you as an operator of Gmail. You have access to YouTube. I call you as an operator of YouTube. Okay. So similarly, anyone who has access to PRPC, we call them as operators. So a user who can access Pega apps, we call them as operators in Pega. Okay. So where do you store operators information? We store them in a database. In a database table, you are going to store it. What is the name of the table here? It is PR_operators is the table where you store operators information. So what do you store? You store first name, last name, email ID, phone number, contact address, his time zone. Okay, and if he's on a schedule, like if he's on a leave, from which day to which day he's on leave. So these kind of information you will be storing. So in which table you're storing? In operator table. Apart from that, what do you think an operator should have? So an operator should have, you're not able to see my screen. Can you just log off and re-log in? Or you can do one thing, you please install GoToMeeting. When it's asking you to install, just install it. Okay, what an operator should have, just assume that you're an operator for Gmail or end user of Gmail. What do you need? You need a portal. Whenever you log in, you want to see all your messages, inbox, outbox, and everything. So you need a portal. So you want a portal. So why you need a portal? Because the portal differs from user to user. If I'm an end user, my portal is different. If you're an admin of Gmail, your portal is different. Another person is a developer of Gmail, his portal is different. Another person is tester of Gmail, his portal is different. And somebody is a manager, his portal is different. So the portals vary from users to users. Okay, so one operator should have portal. So what type of portal he can access? Then which application he can access. Why which application? Because when you log in with that credentials, of Google, you can access Gmail, you can access YouTube, you can access Google My Business, you can access their AdWords, you can access YouTube. There are many things that you can access. So you have to define which applications that the user can access. So you should decide which application he can access. You should decide what portal he sees, and you should decide his role. Of course, is he an admin, is he a manager, user? Okay, so you have to identify his role, because based on the role, some of the content may or may not be visible to him. If he's an so you have to identify the role. So these are the things you need to map to an operator. Okay, portals, applications, and roles. Now assume that I have to create 1,000 operators in my application. Then 1,000 times I need to map his portal, his application, his role. Now what about big organizations which have like a huge user base? Maybe I have like 10 lakh users. So I have to create operators for 10 lakh users. Means 10 lakh times I have to map portal, application, and role to each and every individual user, right? Which is hectic. Every time you have to identify which portal, which application. You have to keep on identifying that. So instead of that, to make this thing easy, what we do is we package all these things and we put it in something called as access group. So access group is nothing but it is just like a container or a folder which contains all this information. So access group contains portal information, application information, and roles information. So what made this easy? What made things easy then? Yeah, it made things easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an access group called as. So the syntax for creating access group in Pega is your application name followed by the role. So you create like this: app name colon admin. Whatever is the app name, you're going to replace it. App name colon manager. app name colon user, so on. You're going to create access groups. Oh, just a second, guys. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah, sorry guys, very sorry, I'm back. Okay, so you have to create an access group which says application name colon admin manager user. This way you have to create your access groups. Now what made things easy? So now you're going to put the application portal role which is required for admins in admin access group. Okay, similarly you will place application portal and role which is required for managers in manager access group, for users in user access groups. So it's a one-time effort. So if you create 3 access groups like this, and now you have 10,000 admins who joined your application. So you just map this access group to all the 10,000 users. They'll get access to all these 3 things. Now you have like 500 managers. Just map this access group to each of those operators. You get all these things. Now you have like 1 lakh users. Just map this access group. They get all these things. So you made things easy. Okay. And even tomorrow, maybe you wanted to change. Suppose I wanted to change the portal that they're seeing. Yeah, I can delete it here and add a new portal here. Then it gets applicable to all the 10,000 admins or all the 500 managers. So even changes you can do easily by just changing it in the access group. You need not individually open each and every operator and change a portal inside it or a role inside it or add a portal or add a role. Okay, so things made easy if you plug in this access group to an operator. So operators contain, so it's like this. Operators will have access group. What does an access group contain? Access group contains applications, portals, and roles. Okay, with this what happened is you can easily maintain your operator details. You can add a new application portal role by simply modifying in the access group. Okay, so this way you'll be designing. Now let me open operators and access groups and show you something, then we'll talk about the rest of the things. So this is called as Designer Studio. Okay, this portal is called as Designer Studio, the place where you're going to build and deploy your applications. Okay, I have given you a walkthrough of the portal in the last session. I'll give it again towards the end of the session today. Okay, this is called as Designer Studio. Now let me open my operator profile. So if you take Gmail, Yahoo, or Facebook, anything, where do you find your operator account? On the top right you'll be finding, if you click on it, your my account or the details will pop out, right? Similarly in Pega we used to have at top right, but in this version they moved to bottom left. So if you click here, your account details will pop out. This is operator. So this is a data instance, right? As we are maintaining it in a DB table PR underscore operators. Sonia, I have seen your question. I'll answer it towards the end. I mean, towards the end of operators topic. Okay, so this is a data instance. Because this is a record in the database, I've just pulled it and I'm displaying in the Pega portal. This is being stored in PR underscore operators DB table. So look at this, how your operator profile looks. It's talking about your user ID, your mail ID. Okay. Now, what is the information it stores? It stores your first name, last name, your full name, your designation, contact, email, general information. Okay, time zone, and the most important thing it's holding is access group. Okay, operators contain access group in them. So let's put this in a different, notepad. Operator record holds access group. Now let's open access group. Let's look at the other tabs as well before we move to access group. Other tabs contain which organization, which division, which unit you're working, your work group. I'll talk about work groups. Your reporting manager, your skills like Pega, Java, Oracle, your work queues. Yeah, I'll talk about them in the later sessions. Your business calendar means what are your working days, non-working days, timings, working hours and all. Scheduled absence, your leave. Okay, and who is your replacement when you're on leave. Security, is this a robo? Rule checkouts, I'll speak about them. External authentication means using single sign-ons. I'll talk about it. Okay. And do you want to force a password change on next login? You can enable this. You want to disable the operator? You can do that. Okay. So some settings we'll speak about them in detail. Okay. Now, so this is a general operator profile. Okay. Now, what is he containing? Access group. The most important thing is access group. Let me open the access group. So if you want to open anything, you should find a small icon like this. Okay, when you click on that, the data instance or rule will open. So this is access group. Look at the name of the access group. As I told you, it's application name followed by the role. So my application is called as chargeback, followed by the role administrators. So I'll have another access group called as chargeback colon users, chargeback colon developers, chargeback colon testers. So I'll be having access group for different roles in my project. Okay. So this is chargeback colon administrators. So what is it holding? Application name, portals, roles. That's what we have discussed. Application name, portal and role. So why should I give application name? Because on this particular server machine, I have n number of applications. Look at this. There are many applications. So I should tell Pega, right? Hey, this user should access only this application, not the rest. So you're telling any person with this access group can access only this application. Okay. Okay, well and good. He can access this application. Now, what all portals he can see? So it's like you can have one or more portal. So why one or more portal? Maybe like this, you are a manager, okay? You want to have a look at a user portal as well as manager portal. So you want to have access to two portals. So I can give you two portals. Maybe you're a developer. You need access to all the portals because you keep developing, you keep testing, you want to look at everything. So you will have access to all the portals. So that way you can add all the portals. So you can have a developer portal, you can add a manager portal, you can have a worker portal. Like this, as per your requirement, you can have portals. And the one which is selected will be your primary portal. Means when you log in, that's the default portal that's visible to you. The rest are optional. You can switch to those portals. Like, see, I can switch to manager portal, I can switch to worker portal. Like this, it opens in a different tab like this. Okay, so like this you can create, you can add portals to an operator. Oh, 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry guys. So this way you can add to one access group. You'll have application and portals. Now here comes a question. Interviewer might ask you, can I have more than one application in an access group? No. Okay, it's a big no. Look at this. You can add only one application in an access group. You do not have an option to add multiple access groups. Whereas you can add multiple portals. So within an application, I can see multiple portals, but for a single access group, you cannot have multiple applications. Okay, do remember this. You can only have one application, but you can have multiple portals. Okay. Uh, then here comes the next one, that is roles. So why do I need a role? Yeah, see, why do you need a role? Now, look at this. I told like you are a user and I am a manager and somebody is an admin. Now, every one of you belong to the same application chargeback. Yeah, you have a different portals, that well and good. Maybe, okay, you have different portals. Now, what thing is that uh, somebody should have read-only access to something and someone should have only view access to something and someone should have editable access to something. So how do you control that access? Because all of us have the same option on the screen, but I should give read-only to some set of users, editable to some set of users, and visibility to some set of users, and it is hidden to some set of users. So to control such things, you need something called as roles. Okay, so role is nothing but your role in the organization. Are you an admin? Are you a manager? Are you a user? So roles again look the same naming convention. Application name colon role. Look at this, chargeback colon administrators. Same names you will be having for roles, but how do you use them? How do how do they control the access on the UI, or how do they control the access on the functionality to a user? Roles are just like flag variables. How do you use a flag variable in Java or anywhere? You just put a flag variable like if this is equal to true, display. If this is false, don't display. So similarly, when you write your code or when you build an UI, you will say if the user has a role chargeback colon administrator, make this editable. If the user has a role chargeback colon user, make it read only. So that way you're going to design in your code. Okay, you're going to put a condition. If he has this, do this, not do that. That way you are going to use it. Okay, so just adding a role in an operator is not going to do anything. You have to use it in your code saying that if the operator has a role X, do this. If our operator has a role Y, do that. So that way you have to code it, only then it works. Okay, so it's just like portals, you can add multiple roles as well here. Okay, but there is no point in just adding a role and leaving it. You have to use it in your code. Okay, so what happens at runtime? When the user logs into the application, immediately Pega will identify what is his access group, which applications he can access, which portal I should display, and what are his roles. Then, as you keep navigating on the, by creating, cases, as you keep navigating on the application, if there's any set of screens which are using roles, then Pega will check. Okay, this user has this role. Can we display this content to him or not? Okay, if yes, it will display. If not, it will not display. So that way it will be checking whether you're eligible to see some content or edit some content or do something on a content. Okay, so like the roles are just used like flag variables. Can I give access or not? Can I make it editable or not? Like that you have to use it in your code. Okay, so this is access group. The primary things are application, portals, roles. So operator ID contains access group. Access group defines which application you can access, which portal I can access, which roles I can access. Now, commonly made mistakes I'll tell you. Okay, what people do is suddenly now think that I'm testing something, okay, and I don't want developer portal. I want to put only manager portal. Okay, only manager. I want to remove all these things. I just want to remove all these things and I want to have only manager portal because I am testing something. I want to do that. Okay, I'll put this. I will save my changes. Now I'll start testing. Well and good. What is a big blunder mistake you made here? You made change in an access group, which means that you are affecting all the users having this access group. As I told you, if you have 10,000 admins in a organization, you are going to give this access group to all the 10,000 people. So now any change made in the access group is going to affect all the 10,000 users. Okay, so please be very careful when you're making such changes. Okay, because any change you're making in this is going to affect all the people who are tagged to this. Okay, so don't make such things. Any changes you want, you can do it in your operator ID, or you create a new access group with only manager portal and you map it to your, see, I forgot to mention, one operator can have multiple access groups as well. So like this, I can add multiple access groups. So you might ask me, why do you need multiple access groups? Two things. Maybe one access group is for admins. I need another access group of managers, another access group for users. That way I want. Okay, one reason could be. The other reason could be just like a single sign-on. See, when you log in into Gmail, with the same credentials, you can access YouTube, you can access Google My Business, you can access, all the Google products, right? Similarly, maybe there are like 5 applications in my organization. With single credentials, I want to access all the 5 applications. So I'll have 5 access groups. Access group 1 gives me access to chargeback application. Access group 2, let's put some access group here. Some access group, okay. Access group 2 gives me access to Pega AES remote application. Access group 3, you can see the application name here, gives me access to Pega rules application. So this way, with a single set of credentials, if you want to access multiple applications, you can have multiple access groups like this. Okay, so operators contain access groups which can be one or more. Access group contains application which is only one. You contain multiple portals, you contain multiple roles. And people ask you, what is a role? Why do you need roles? If you want to have some granular control over your application, you want to hide some functionality, you want to make it editable, kind of such things, some control you want to have, you use roles. Roles are used like flag variables. Okay, you put a condition using a rule and you will decide how the functionality should work. Any questions till here, guys? Any questions? Okay, I have some questions in the chat. Let me keep answering them. In the meanwhile, you can ping me or you can ask me here. If I change role in admin, will it be change in manager and other operators? No, no, Sonia. See, because if you change it here, it's only applicable to administrators. Okay, uh, it will not affect others. But if you change anything within the role, but roles are read-only variables. Let me show you role. A role does not contain anything inside it. It's just read-only. It's just like a flag variable. There's nothing in it. Okay, so there's nothing to change in it. See, there's nothing in it. It just shows where it is being used. It will just going to show you where it's being used. No, Shiny, it's different. I'll explain you. Okay, so somebody asked me, if I change anything in the role, will it affect everyone? Like, means suppose this role is being used in an admin access group and the same role is being used in manager access group, will it affect? It would have affected, but if it does not contain anything inside it to affect, it's just a read-only variable. You create it and you use it wherever you want. So there's nothing to change inside it. So nothing gets affected. Okay. So does that answer your question, Sonia? Sushmita, you mean like operator creation? Yes, operator creation, access group creations are all done by the Pega admins. Will there be any default access groups or we have to create them based on the requirement? Yeah, you will have some default access groups. I mean, like, forget about 8.2 version of Pega, but if you go with previous versions of Pega, whenever you create a new application in Pega, you get by default four access groups: admin, developer, user, manager. But coming from 8.2, they have retired that feature. They are not giving you any default access groups. You yourself have to create a access group. Okay. But previous versions, they used to give us some default access groups. So how do you create an operator? How do you create an access group? I'm going to show you in the practical part. Okay. First, you need to create a new application. Then you'll be creating all these things. Okay, first couple of days I'll go only with the theory, guys, because I have to introduce you to some basic components of PRPC. Then we'll start building an application and you'll be building each one of these. Okay, if no other questions, can I move ahead, guys? Let me know if you have any questions, otherwise I'll just keep moving. Okay, so we spoke about operators. Yes, Nagmalishwara. Okay, first you get operators, and then you have access groups, and there are a few other tabs. We frequently don't interact with these tabs. Okay, there are a few things like work pools. I'll be explaining you work pools and all these things. Authentication timeout means after how much time you want to say like your session has expired, please enter the credentials. So that authentication you'll find here, and some like directories and all, we don't use them. Yes, somebody has a question. Ravindra, are you asking? Okay, Ravindra, I think I just kept you on mute. I thought you were asking something, but no, so I just kept you on mute. Okay, so there are a few things, production rule sets I'm going to discuss. Okay, we'll be discussing it. And if you open an access group operators tab, you can see who are all the operators having this access group. So there's only one person having this access group right now, but if there are many, you'll get to know who are all the people having this access group. The list will be displayed here. History. Every rule in Pega will have a history, like the description, usage, who created it, when did they create it, okay, who updated it, when was it updated. So the whole set of information you'll find it in history. Operators, access groups. Okay, now going in depth again, you have roles. You have seen the role. How do you open it? By just clicking this icon, I was able to open the role like this, roles. And I told you roles are like boolean variables. You just plug in them and you use them whether to hide or edit, or you use it in your functionality. There's nothing within a role to do. Now an extension to this is called as role to object. Let me open a role to object, then I'll explain you in detail about it. So we have seen that operators have access groups, and access groups are having port. Okay, you have application, portal, and roles. Now an extension to role is role to object. Let me open a role to object. You will get to know all this navigation once you start practicals, guys. I'll explain you. security. Okay, so this is called as role to object. So what is the purpose of this? Okay, so with roles, what are you doing? You are able to control the access of like editable, read-only, visibility, hidden, and kind of things. Now, what if you want to control the access at different environment levels? Means you are a developer, okay? There's a specific link called as add users, okay? Add users, you can have access only till UAT environment. Hope you guys are aware of the environments like dev, QA, UAT, okay, SIT, production. If not, just a high level introduction, guys. You will be developing the applications in an environment called as dev. Then once you push it to for testing, that environment is called as QA, where testing people will test. Then you will give it to business for testing, that is called as UAT or SIT. Then finally go live, that is called as production, where actual users are going to work. Okay, so only till dev, QA, and UAT you will have access to certain set of things. In production, you're completely restricted because that's a real-time application, right? That's a real where people are going to act. Okay, so you're not supposed to have complete control in production. We have very limited control in production. So let's assume that add users is a link which is available to add to new operators. Okay, now you can use it as you're a developer. You can use it till dev, QA, maybe till UAT in certain cases, but not in production. So how do you restrict it? I gave you an access group called as developer. I gave you a role called as developer, and I have coded that any person with this developer access should be able to click on this link and add users. So what happens? Even in production, you can add it because you have developer role, you have developer access group, so everything is matching as per the code. So you will be able to access in prod, and you can create issues. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to have some extension to the roles called as role to object. As the name itself indicates, it's a role related to a object. Object means class. We'll talk about it later. For now, let's talk about role to object importance. So role to objects are used to control your access at different environment levels, which means that although you are an admin or a developer and you have the required access groups and roles, but still you are not supposed to perform this action in certain environments. Maybe you're not supposed to do this in UAT, maybe not in SIT, maybe not in production. Okay, so in role to object, in role to object, what you're going to do is you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers like this. Just a second. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to define some numbers like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One means pre-dev. Usually we don't have, but if some people, if in some organization, if they have any environment before development, we call it as this one. 2 is development environment, 3 is QA, 4 is UAT, 5 is production. So look at the options here. Let's look at this, which is easy for you. Open rules means can the user with this role to object open rules? And you say 3, which means that he can open rules only till QA. Till QA, not just QA. Till QA means 1, 2, 3 are covered, not just 3. Modify rules. Can he edit the rules? Okay, just say 2. Means only till development he can modify the rules. Moment. Yeah. So you have to give some numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. So modify rules, I said 2, which means that only till development you can edit the rules or delete the rules. You can do all such things. So in QA, UAT and production, you can't do. Delete. Okay, again you can give like 2. Now, running reports, maybe you can say I can do it till UAT. So I gave 4. Deleting cases, instances means cases, transactions. Okay, so like this you can give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. If you do not give anything, it's like complete access you have. If you give 0, okay, oh sorry, if you give 0, it's like do not grant access. If you leave it empty, it means, sorry, if you leave it empty, it means like you're not granting any access. Okay, if this is empty, it means no access. So like this, you will be giving some numbers to define your access at different environment levels. Okay, yeah, you might be an admin. Yeah, you are an admin, but I can't give you access in production just because you're an admin, right? Because prod means the place where real-time users are going to work. So just because you are an admin, I can't give you an access in prod to do certain things, right? So this way, you're going to control the access over the application. Oh my god, one second, yes. You're going to control the access over the application. Uh, any questions still here, guys? Yeah, yeah, Shushmita. Any questions, guys? So, role to object. So let's recap what we have discussed. Operators means any user who has access to Pega. Access group, the place where you define which application, which portals he can access. Role to object, getting a granular control over the things, so you control the access different environment levels. So it's like dev, QA, UAT, prod, you're going to control the access. That's role to object. So role to object is an extension to the role. So why do I say it's an extension to the role? Because when you create a role to object, you should and must have a role with the same name. So Pega will, how Pega will identify is, so it will first check your operator ID, it will check what access groups you have, it will check what roles you have, then it will check is there any role to object with the same name. Okay, because you didn't map role to object anywhere, did you map it? No, we didn't map role to objects anywhere. Then how will Pega know like this operator has this role to object? Because Pega is going to check what roles he has, then it will check are there any role to objects with the same name. So if you are creating role to object, it's mandatory that you have a role with that name. And Pega will check your access group roles and it will check whether you have any role to objects with the same name. That's how you're going to control the role to objects. Just have a look at it. I know it's little too much to take it. Okay. Just let me know if you have any questions or if you want me to recap, I can do it for you. Okay, can you explain me the difference between production, UAT and other things? Okay. See, dev, place where dev team develops the application. Okay. QA, place where testing team tests the application. UAT, where business users test the application. prod, real-time users work here. Okay, this is the difference. So if you say if you're accessing Gmail or YouTube, that's a production environment because you're the real user of it. Okay, if the Gmail company employees or YouTube company employees are testing the application, then it's UAT. If the development and the QA team of their company are working on it, then it's dev and QA. Okay, prod is the place where the actual users work. Okay, so let me know if you're still not clear on this. Recap on role to object. Is role to object mandatory to use it? Is it mandatory or optional? It's completely optional, guys. Okay, role to object is completely optional. It's not mandatory. Okay, you need not create it always. Only when you want to control it at different environment levels, certain areas of the screen or certain areas of the functionality, you control it. Otherwise, it's not at all mandatory. Recap on role to object. Okay, let's take an example of this. Uh, okay, look at this. Look at the bottom of the screen. These are called as debugging tools. Clipboard, tracer, live UI. These are called as debugging tools. What are debugging tools? When you're debugging an issue, you use them. Okay, because you're a developer. Okay, you have to see them. Now, in prod, okay, usually we do not have debug. Just assume, okay, we do not have debugging tools, or you should not see debugging tools. Okay, then how do I control it? Because you are a developer, because you have a developer access group and a developer role, of course the debugging tools will display because you're a developer. How can you work without having debugging tools? But that's production. How can you go ahead and do things there in production? You're not supposed to execute anything and you're not supposed to debug there. So you're not supposed to do that. But you're a developer. Then how can you control these things? By using role to object. So by using role to object, you can say this should not be visible, or this cannot be visible in prod environment, or this thing. Or similarly, just like I told you, add users, delete users. Maybe you have some functionality like that, which you can do only till dev, QA, and UAT. You're not supposed to do that in production. How can you delete a real-time user? Or how can you add a new real-time user? Or let's take a banking application. Okay, let's take a banking application. Suppose you have an option called as add funds to your wallet. Okay, so in dev, QA, and UAT, you can add funds to your wallet because they are temporary dummy data. Now in production, suppose that's a HDFC bank and you really hold an account in HDFC bank. Okay, in production, can you do add funds to your wallet? Means you are like, adding some funds. You're putting some code and saying that, yeah, every month by default credit me like 1 lakh or 10 lakhs. So can you do that? No, you're not supposed to do that, right? So you want to control certain areas in production. You don't want even developers to access that. Okay, so such kind of things, if you want to control, you use this kind of role to object where you want to restrict certain things in different environment levels. Maybe you can do that add funds in dev and QA because they are like testing environments. You have dummy data, but this prod is a real data and real users will be there. So you're not supposed to do that. So you control it by using add, this thing. So you give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. Based on the number, you will not have access in that environment or till that environment. Oh, sorry, you will have access to that environment. So if I say 3, 1, 2, 3, I'll have 4 and 5, I'll not have. So till that environment, you'll have access. The rest you will not have. Okay. So does that clarify you on role to object or any other questions? When I create an operator, I'm not specifying any role to object, then what will PRPC consider? The rest of the things. So you have operator has access group and roles, right? So this it will consider. Not every piece of thing that you see on the screen has to be restricted at different environment levels, right? Only certain areas you have to restrict. So not mandatory to have role to object for everything. Any other questions, guys? Each role will have a defined set of role to object. Yes, each role will have a role to object, but it's optional. So I can have 100 roles, but I can have only 10 role to objects. Okay, so 90 roles are not having role to objects. So role to object is completely optional. Only based on the requirement you might create it. Okay. No role to object, no restriction at environment level. Yeah, right. So if there is no role to object, you're not restricting a different environment level. See, not everything you want to restrict, right? Only certain things you want to restrict. So only for certain things you create role to object, not for everything you create. Right. If there is no role to object, there is no restriction at environment level, right? Is there a default role to object level? No, guys. For every role, you have some role to objects. If you go with the default access groups, default roles, then you'll have default role to object. But by default for your application, you don't get anything. As I told you in earlier versions of Pega, they used to create four different types of access groups, four types of roles, and four types of roles they used to create, and some role to objects. But in current version, they are not creating anything. You only have to create everything. Okay. And I also have to mention that it is this role to object are specific to a class. I will tell you that in detail at a later point because I haven't taught you what is a class and all those things. Okay, so this tells something missing here. I'll explain you later once we come to classes topic. So how this is going to work is, so you have a text box or a editable box in the screen, and you said if a person has this developer role, this should be editable to him. Okay, so that becomes editable. Then Pega will check is there any role to object for this role. Yes, there is a role to object, and the role to object says you can make it editable only till pre-production. That's UAT. So only till pre-prod that will be editable. And production it will not be editable to the developer as well. So that way at runtime Pega is going to check what roles you have and do you have any role to object to it. If so, till which environment this is going to work.
Hey Nikhila, this is Susmita. So if if there is a developer and there is a role, and you do not give the role to object, then by default, what kind of environment will
It's
you
like
access?
till prod.
Chill
See,
problem. Okay.
if you don't if you're not controlling it, then it's like completely open.
Okay.
Okay, you will get more clarity once you start doing the practicals on these things. Okay, so there's something more called as privileges, but I don't want to overload you today. So I'll show you how these things work by doing some simple example. In that case, it's not mandatory to have. Yes, it's not mandatory, guys. It's optional. Role to objects are optional. Okay, so look at this. I have chargeback or an administrator's access group. So I'm able to see this portal, right? Admin portal. Now let me change my access group. Oh no, let me create a new operator because I don't want to. Okay, that's fine. Let's change the access group and see now I'm changing my access group to managers. Okay, and I'm going to remove these things. So now look at this. Now you're seeing the developer portal, right? Look at this. What are the options available? Debugging tools and rules and all the stuff is available. Now I'm changing my access group to managers, which means that you will have only access to manager portal and worker portal. So you'll not have developer portal then, and you have manager role and worker role. Okay, so let's see how that differs. So I'm changing my access group, save it. Let's log off and re-log in, and you will see a different portal because my access group has changed. It's taking so much time to save. Okay, I'm just logging off. Because I'm going to tell you how to install, okay, and how to access PRPC. Everything I'll be telling you in the later sessions, okay. Because after 3 or 4 sessions, uh, I expect people to make the or clear the fee payments. Okay, if you're comfortable, you can do it today itself. But by 3 sessions or 4 sessions, I expect them to clear the payments. Post payment, okay, like finally who are attending the sessions, for those I'm going to teach you how to install the software and how to do all these things. I mean, like, I'll be showing you. Okay, now don't worry, like, how am I getting this portal, how am I accessing all these things. I'm just going to log in. And the session timings are like Wednesday to Friday. My Wednesday, okay, Indian Wednesday to Friday, it's morning 7 to 8:30, and Saturdays and Sundays 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Or we'll try to move it a little earlier because there are people from different time zones. So I want to make it like the same way, like 7 to 9 a.m. or something like that. I'll confirm you by Friday EOD. Okay. So on weekends, it's a 2 hour session. On weekdays, it's 1.5 hour session. And Monday and Tuesday is off. Okay. Initial sessions, maybe I won't do the complete 1.5 hour. Initial sessions is the first 4 to 5 classes because too much of theory, it'll overload you. But once the practical start, after 4 sessions, you'll be very comfortable. Okay. So, I mean, like, you'll be very comfortable if the practical goes on for 1 hour or 2 hours, you'll be comfortable. If it's theory for 2 hours and 1.5 hour, it'll be very boring. So I'll just take only 1 hour. Okay, so look at this. Where is my dev portal? Where are my debugging tools? Where is my rules and all? It's gone because in that access group you have given manager portal. So that's how access groups matter. So you have manager access group now. Okay, so this way you can. Here it's top right again. The operator ID is. Okay, I have to log off. Only developers will have the privilege to, I mean, developers and admins can see their operator IDs and switch the access groups. Managers, users, they can't do it. So what I'll do is I'm going to log in with a different developer operator ID and again switch my access group to developer port. So be very careful when you're making any changes in the common things like access groups, roles and privileges and role to objects because they are common across multiple users. Okay, so be very careful when you're making such changes. The default credentials to log in into PRPC is administrator@pega.com and install. So let's assume that you have just purchased Pega. Okay, you want to build your new project, but how do you log in? So you haven't built any project to have your own credentials. So the default credentials across all the versions of Pega is administrator@pega.com and install as the password, all lowercase letters for the password. Sign in. I changed my access group, right, to manager. Now I want developer again. So I'm just logging in with another developer access, and I'll try to switch my access to dev again. Guys, if somebody has already made the payments, please make sure you collect the software and the installation guide from me. Materials I will be sharing you after 4 sessions. Yeah, and the materials will be like this. They're all PPTs. Okay, so these PPTs you will be receiving. Where is my operator ID? Okay, so now switch from managers to dev again. That's admin. I'll get my developer portal back if I log in now. Oh, similarly, if you change your access group in the operator ID, even the application that you can access will vary. So right now I'm able to access chargeback application, right? So if you give a different application here, now you will see a different application. So till now I was accessing chargeback. Now you'll see Pega DM application. Let's do one thing. Let me take a new session, a new Ignito window. Okay, localhost. What is this credentials? ICICI admin@icici.com, right? Is it saved? Once it saves, you will start seeing a different application because different access group. So just showing you how these access groups and things matter. So your application varies, your portal varies. There was someone, I mean, like when I was working with somebody, there was one guy. What he did is, we have developers access group, right? Like administrators, you have developers. So that guy opened the developers access group, and he changed the portal to managers. Now what happened is like every developer working in that access group got manager portal. We lost access to the dev portals completely. So just be very careful when you're making any changes in the access group because it's going to affect every user working in that. Okay. Now look at this. I'm getting Pega DM application now. So I am not having my ICICI chargeback application anymore. Okay, so this way your access groups matter. It defines which application you can access, what portal you can see, and all those things. Okay, so any questions still here, guys? In tomorrow's session I'll talk about privileges and how they are tied up to these. So this is called as security or operator authorization in Pega. So how do you authorize an operator and how do you decide what he can see? Is these are the set of rules which are involved. So first, when you log in, we check what's your access group, we check which application portal role you can access, then we check the role to objects, then we check privileges. Okay, and every time when you're executing any functionality, we check all these things to display or not, to hide and visible, to edit or not. For everything you'll be checking all these things. Okay, and Pega is going to store all this information on a temporary location called as clipboard. I'll talk about clipboard in later sessions. Okay, and the table which stores your operators information is pr underscore operators. Okay. So sometimes you might get an interview question: how do you create bulk operators in Pega? Okay, so if you want to create bulk operators, we use a file dump with all the operator IDs, and we run a job and we create them. Okay, because manually you can't go and create 10,000 users or 1 lakh users, right? So we take a file dump with all the data and we run a job and we create the operators. And there might be another question like instead of creating operators from Pega portal, like you create operators from the Pega portal, like you say create, okay, organization operators if you want to create a new operator. So they ask you, instead of creating an operator from the Pega portal, can I go ahead and directly create in the DB table like this? So this is my database. Okay, this is the table PR underscore operators. Hold on, yeah. So can I go ahead and create an DB records in PR underscore operators table instead of creating in Pega? Yeah, you can create, but these tables hold some blob columns. What is blob? Blob is a data type. Let me open this table once. So like how int, char, float is a data type, blob is a data type. Blob means, oh, let me show you any of the existing tables, at least you know they also have blob columns. I lost connection to the DB, now I have to reconnect. So instead of that, I'll just show you any other blob column. So this is a blob column. Look at the data, it's not in a readable format. Like this it is. Okay, so you will have blob tables in Pega. So blob tables means they are tables which have a blob data type column. Okay, what is blob? BLOB, binary large object, means the data is stored in binary format, zeros, ones, and all those things. In binary format it is stored. Okay, now the question is, instead of creating an operator ID from Pega portal, can I go ahead and create an PR underscore operators table directly? Yeah, you can create, but how can you feed data in the blob table? So there are certain information which are stored in the blob. Look at this, how it is. So can you feed data in a blob column? You can't feed it, right? You can't type in a binary language and you can store it. So you can't. So this information which is stored in the blob, you will lose it. So we prefer to create operators only from the Pega portal. Either a single operator, if it's you will create it. If it's a bulk, you will run a scheduled job. Okay, you will take a file dump and you're going to do it. Okay, so that's the difference when you create from directly from the database and directly from the Pega portal. You can't handle this blob information if when you create directly from the database. Okay, like insert query and all that. No, you can't feed this information which is there in the blob. So prefer to create from the Pega portal itself. Ravi, I'll ping you about that. Where can we go and dump the bulk operator file? I am going to teach you file listeners concept, then you will learn about it. How would I capture or allocate biz members to right access group? We are going to create an access group specially for the business users. You will put what portals they should see, what roles they should have. First you will create an access group, then you will map the users to that access group. Okay. So for every type of user in your application, you're going to create a dedicated access group first. So we'll create a dedicated access for users, business users, workers, managers. First you create an access, then you map them to that. Just like how you created an operator, same way you're going to create a access group. Like this, create security access group. First you create it, then you map it to your business users. No, 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 no. Creation of operators and access groups are not captured in the workflows. See, workflow is just a life cycle of your transaction. Let's say, for example, you're requesting for a checkbook. Okay. So what is the whole life cycle? You place a request, it goes to the bank, and they have a process. So that whole process or whole life cycle is your workflow. Creating operators, creating access groups is not a part of the life cycle. So the life cycle is the actual business life cycle, the end-to-end process which your business is doing. Okay, so that will not hold creation of operators and all these things. This is all setup, environment setup before they access your application. So if the users have to access your application, you have to set up all this environment for them. They need operators, access groups, roles, privileges, all this stuff. Okay, so this is all environment setup. This is not a part of the life cycle. Okay, so these are few things that you're supposed to know, like few interview from an interview point of view. Like I told you, access group can contain only one application but multiple portals and roles. One operator can have multiple access groups, and any changes in the access is going to affect all the users. And creating operators directly from the database is not suggested because you lose the blob data. And if you want to create bulk operators, we do it through file listeners concept, a file dump and processing them. Okay, and people have single sign-on access in real time. Single sign-on means whenever you unlock your system, you unlock your system by giving some credentials, right? So with that single credentials, you will be able to access all the applications in your organization. So in real time, you're not actually going to see the login screen of Pega and give the credentials and all. No, once you unlock your system with that credentials, every application will have access. For that, people will enable this option, use external authentication. Means single sign-on, LDAP, and all these things will come into the picture. Um, in what format do you find best to capture the life cycle from a stakeholder? Just in a general way, like how you take a requirement from the other users, like you capture it in a Word document, right? The whole requirement, like we in Rally you will put it as stories, tasks. Same way we are going to do. So we also use Rally. We also put all your requirements in a Word docs in the Rally the same way. Okay.
Nikila, I did hear you said you put it in a rally. I couldn't quite comprehend. You said a rally.
Yeah, we use Rally. If not Rally, but it's the same way like how you work with any other tool or technology. Like you capture a requirement in a Word document, in a business requirement document, then you start building the small features out of it. That way we are going to build it. Uh, so business requirement document, it's just a Word template. Every company has their own template. So we try to identify. Okay, Louis, I'll discuss about this on WhatsApp because this is not the current topic, right? So I'll ping you on WhatsApp about this. Okay. So questions, anything related to, guys, ask me questions, anything related to today's topic or the completed topics. Okay. Just because I don't want to divert the rest of the audience. Anything like this, let's discuss on WhatsApp or we can get on a call. Okay. Somebody is asking me what is the significance of this disable operator checkbox. Will this delete the instance in backend table or temporary disabling the operator? You don't want, maybe just assume that you were an admin and now you're leaving the organization. I want to disable the operator. You can disable. Or maybe you're temporarily on a break. You'll get back after some time. Okay, we want to temporarily disable your operator. So disabling the operator. Okay, it's just going to temporarily not making it work. It's not going to delete the record. Any other questions? Okay, now I request everyone to please go and learn about operators access groups today as a task. This is a task I would like to assign you today. Just Google operators in Pega, or Google just as access group in Pega. Learn as much as you can, okay, and get back to me with your questions. Just WhatsApp me, okay. Okay, just for a better understanding again, maybe for a revision, okay. Just go and check. And also I asked you to watch some PDN videos, so try to watch videos on these topics. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Okay, if you get any questions after the session, please WhatsApp me. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, you didn't find some topics in PDN videos, we'll discuss about them. So some of the topics may be covered in CSSA, in some in CSA, and some you will really not find it as well. Okay, so which topics you didn't find, we can discuss in the session. Okay, sometimes even I have tough times with the PDN. There are many good features they come up with, but there are no good articles on them. We don't know how to use them, and they don't post any video or article on them. Still PDN has to be in a much better way. It should be designed. Okay, so if you did not find anything, just let me know. If I can find any source for them, I'll help you out. Okay.